All right, we're solving one-step equations, multiplication and division this time. So it's pretty easy. You still have to show your steps. So you have 7x is equal to negative 56. I already know you know the answer. Remember, whatever you do to the right side, you have to do to the left side. You undo it with the inverse operation. So what's the opposite inverse operation of multiplication? Division. So you're going to undo this by dividing both sides by the coefficient. Because when we did one step, I'll just show you over here. When we were doing one-step addition and subtraction problems, remember we needed to undo it with the additive inverse. We needed to make 0. That was the only way we were going to get x by itself, was to make 0 right here. And then we would get x is equal to 3. With this problem, I don't want to make 0, because if I made 0, then I wouldn't have the x. I want the x. So in this case, I need to make 1. So I'm not doing anything with the opposite. I'm dividing exactly by the coefficient, not the opposite, not like this one where I had to make 0, so it had to be the opposite. This is, I need it to be equal to 1. And 7 divided by 7 is 1. I'm left with x is equal to, remember the rule, every two negatives make a positive for multiplication. And there's your solution. Check it, take the original problem, instead of x, write negative 8. And make sure, remember, you're dropping this right down. And then you go back and you do the problem. 7 times negative 8 is negative 56. And it works. Okay? So the biggest difference between, besides that one is addition and one is multiplication, is that when I undo it, I'm undoing it with exactly the same number, not the opposite. Because if it was the opposite, if I made this a negative, then I would have negative 1. And I don't want negative 1. I just want 1. Okay, so moving on. Okay, this one you have 4x equals negative 12. Hopefully you already know the answer. You have it in your head. And now you know you need to show me the process. It's multiplication, undo it with division, divide both sides by the coefficient, exactly the coefficient. 4 divided by 4 is 1. I'm left with x is equal to negative 3, remembering the rules. 4 times negative 3, does that equal negative 12 is the question. And it does. Try to make the steps on your paper as neat as possible. You know, there's a reason why you have blue lines on a lined sheet of paper. So try to stay within those lines and use them to help guide you through this. Don't make it this messy. It looks pretty messy. Esteban spent $112 on boxes of baseball cards. If he paid $14 per box, how many boxes of cards did he buy? The first thing you want to do is come up with your equation. So you have 14x equals 112. Once you have 14x equals 112, you're just going to go ahead and divide both sides by 14 and have your solution. He's going to need to buy 8 boxes of cards. And this is your check step. Drew spent $18 on toy cars. If the cars cost $2 each, $2 each, 18. How many did he buy? Divide both sides by 2. Looks like he bought 9 cards. Double check. Want it to equal 18, and it does. So we bought 9 cars. There you go. All right, so that was one-step multiplication. This is one-step what? Division. Okay, how do you undo division? With the inverse operation. What's the inverse of division? Multiplication. What are you going to multiply both sides by? Whatever's in the denominator. -5. Why? Because this is really over 1 like this. So I can cross cancel right here. So this -5 would cancel this -5, and I'd be left with y. So I'm left with y equals 60. Check it. Get your lines going. Keeps everything straight. Just makes it neater. 60 divided by -5. Your goal and hope is that it equals what you started with, and it does. So it checks. Okay, so process that. So you undo multiplication with division, you undo division with multiplication, and not the opposite. That's only for addition. Okay, so it's a division problem. Undo it with multiplication. Let's do it again. M divided by 4 equals -9. Multiply both sides by whatever's in the denominator so that you can look at this and go, cancel. M is equal to -36. And then, of course, you go through the process of checking it. -36 divided by 4 does equal -9. -9 equals -9. Check. And that's it. So you've done one-step equations for addition and subtraction and one-step equations for multiplication and division. What's next? Two-step equations.